Sure. All right. Good morning and welcome to the How to Ride the Bus training. I'm Kelly Schneider, the Social Services Mobility Coordinator. All right. As the mobility coordinator, it's my role to connect people with transportation resources. A lot of times that's public transit, which is going to be our focus today. So we will go through all the ins and outs of public transit. I'm also a resource for helping people learning how to ride the bus, which we'll also talk about here today, planning bus trips, if that ever comes up for you or those that you serve, how to use the transit technology, and then also learning about all the other non-public transit resources that our community has to offer. Okay. So this is what's on the menu. We're going to first start with a public transit overview. Then we'll talk about where to find bus information. This will be very helpful if you're looking for bus information yourself or directing people to where the information is stored. We'll also then get into all the different discounts, passes, fares, and transfers. We'll talk about where to buy bus passes. Then we're going to get into the Stone Age and learn how to read a paper bus route brochure. So not using any technology, but just focusing on the paper. Then we will go through the elements of actually riding the bus. And then we'll play around with the newer technology that's around to help you learn about the different bus routes. I also have a slide that's been updated since the last trainings that talks about some of the different community transportation programs that maybe don't quite fall under the public transit type of service, but they also are related to transportation. So we will cover those too. Okay, so getting started first on public transit. In Johnson County, we have two different types of transportation that's offered. And we'll get into more details on that, but the main two types of transportation offered is our fixed routes. First, fixed routes, those are operating in our urban areas. And these are the University of Iowa CAN bus, Coralville Transit, Iowa City Transit. This training will be color coded too, so you'll see that CAN bus will be referenced with yellow, Coralville blue, and Iowa City red. In the rural parts of our county, we have a demand response system, and that is called Johnson County Seats. That is open to the general public, and we'll show a map of everybody that kind of falls into that service category. Anybody using the fixed route systems or living in those urban areas that has a disability, they can apply to use paratransit. So Coralville and Iowa City Transit contract with Johnson County Seats, and then CAN bus has a service called Bionic Bus, and we'll get into further into what those services look like. But this is the main categories and different systems that we have here. All right, here's a map to kind of tie that all in together. As I mentioned, here in the urban areas, which includes North Liberty, Coralville, University Heights, and Iowa City, you'll see that there's quite a bit of overlap. So we've got CAN bus, Coralville, and Iowa City operating in those areas. And it's not uncommon if somebody's riding from one part of a town to the other, that they may be using one to two of these systems interchangeably. And what's really great is these systems work together to make that travel seamless. So if you're transferring from a Coralville to Iowa City, CAN bus to Coralville, you can do that seamlessly. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those transfers look like and how to do that. So again, you'll see that overlap there right in the center of the county, and on the outer parts in the green, that's where we have that Johnson County Seats rural service that I mentioned. So that's going to include the communities of Lone Tree, Hills, Solon, Shoeyville, Swisher, Oxford, Tiffin, and all those more rural surrounding areas in between. All right, here we have the different service times. So CAN Bus right now is operating their regular schedule, which is because University of Iowa is in session. So you'll see that that's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. and Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. In a few weeks, when the students are on spring break, they'll transition to their break or summer schedule. So that schedule and service time looks a little bit different. And we'll talk about where to find those schedules and service times so that you know when those changes might occur. And again, anytime that CAN Bus is offering their fixed route service, will also be offering their paratransit service, which is called Ionic Bus. All right, then we've got the blue buses. So Coralville Transit, it's operating Monday through Friday, 5:35 a.m. to 12 a.m. And then Saturday, 7:15 to, excuse me, just a second, 7:15 to 8 p.m. Iowa City Transit's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10:45, and then 7 to 7 on Saturdays. In those green parts of the county that I showed on that slide before on the map, rural service can be scheduled 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay, before we transition to get in a little bit more depth on each of these, I want to just check to make sure there's no questions. And you can either drop those in the chat or unmute yourself. All righty, let's get into paratransit. So paratransit is a really great piece of legislation that came out with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So within that act, there was a category for transportation. And what that law stated is anytime that you're offering the fixed route service, you must offer a door-to-door service for people with disabilities. So if you're wondering what disability might mean, there is no magical diagnosis or type of disability. It really is taken on a case-to-case basis. Sometimes people might have a combination of disabilities, so I really encourage people to apply if they think that they need that level of service. So what happens is the service is for people that cannot board, ride, or get to the regular fixed route buses. So in that case, what you'll do is you'll apply with the city that you live in, either Coralville or Iowa City, and see if you're eligible to use that service. Once you're deemed eligible, if you're from Coralville or Iowa City, you'll be assigned to start using Johnson County seats. If you're University of Iowa faculty, staff, or student, you would apply to use the Bionic Bus. I think the key thing to remember with the paratransit is those service times that we talked about for the fixed route buses, the paratransit service must be offered at those same times. And with paratransit, the way that works is you'll call your paratransit provider and book your rides in advance. They'll come to your door and take you to the door of where you're traveling to. So we talked a little bit about the application process. Those do take quite a bit of time. That legislation with the Americans with Disabilities Act also stated that it will take the transit agencies get up to 21 days to process those applications. Within that application, the writer explains how it's functionally impossible for them to use the fixed route buses. Another portion of that application is a physician or a medical professional must verify why it's functionally impossible for the rider to ride as well. If the person with a disability needs or wants to travel with a companion, they can also ask for that at the time of the application. Any questions about paratransit? Alrighty. So let's talk about SEAT's rural service. So SEAT's is does a lot of different things. So you'll learn about all the ins and outs of it. So again, here's the more technical map compared to that general one that we showed before that shows where all those green parts of town are. So for anybody living in these green parts of the county, they can call Johnson County SEAT's Scheduling and schedule their door-to-door rides that can take place between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. For this type of service, there's no application required. You just call and you say, hey, I'm Kelly, I live in Hills, and this is my address, and you're automatically deemed eligible for that. And again, there's no, for both rural service and paratransit, there's no limitations on where you can travel as long as you're traveling within the county. So you can choose to go to medical, grocery, employment, visit a friend. The destination is up to you. Okay, so this is what has been updated since the last training, if we have any repeats. Oh, thanks for the heart, Sarah. I appreciate that. I've never seen that reaction before. I like that. So recently, Johnson County SEAT's expanded their service to offer what is called a same-day on-demand transportation service. So this service was made possible with the American Rescue Act plan funds that the county received during the COVID relief. So this service was designed to fill the gaps for people that are experiencing transportation barriers. So here's a picture of the van that's being used. It is accessible, so it can accommodate people with mobility devices. And the eligibility criteria for this is people that are applying for paratransit. So we talked about in a couple slides before this that it could take a while to get that application approved, but then also the process of filling it out and tracking down your doctor to fill that out. Also, it can be timely. And what we found is if people have, let's say, an unexpected accident where they can no longer drive and they're suddenly disabled, they may have places that they need to travel to. So one of the categories for the same day on demand service is people that are going through that application process for paratransit. Another pocket is individuals who reside outside of or are traveling to areas unserved by the transit system. So if you remember several slides ago, we talked about the coverage area. Well, there's some parts of town that may not have coverage, or it's maybe unsafe to travel there. One of the locations that is coming to mind right now is the Johnson County Historical Poor Farm. So that's on the west side of 218, and the bus route is much further onto the east side of that street. And it's just not safe to walk across the freeway if you don't have transportation access. So in that event, this service could be used for folks in that area. We also have a category for North Liberty residents, and then those in the unincorporated parts of the county. So North Liberty has transportation service, but it's pretty limited. And we wanted to be able to provide more service to folks in North Liberty. So that is definitely a point of eligibility. We're also making the service available to immigrants and limited English proficiency populations, and then any other transportation barrier. So the eligibility for this service is definitely, again, taken case by case. So if you are or work with those that you think might qualify, they can sign up for the service. It just takes a one-time referral. If you think this would ever come on your radar, drop your email in the chat and I will send you the information about the service and how to sign up individuals for that, or yourself if that applies. So the service does run Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with the exception of county holidays. It is a $5 cash one-way fare. So that is a little bit more expensive than the public transit. And yes, Megs, to answer your question, yes, this is, we used to just call it Seats ARPA service. We've renamed it to better reflect that it is same day rides and on demand. So yes, that is correct. And again, this can be anywhere within Johnson County for any reason. Okay, any questions about this service or anything else? Okay. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the fixed routes. Sarah, yes, absolutely. And you work in OB, yes. So in a case with a mom bringing an infant with a car seat, yes, absolutely. Of course, the mom would be responsible, or the parent, whoever's traveling with, would be responsible for providing the car seat and then installing it. So the drivers are not educated on all the different workings of car seat specifics, so that the parent or whoever's traveling with the child would be responsible for that. So yes, that is a great question. I'll pause to make sure there's no more. All right, so let's talk about the fixed route buses. So the next good chunk, we're going to focus on the fixed routes because they are one of the affordable and efficient ways to get around in the community. So by definition, fixed route means a bus that's following a designated path of travel, picking up passengers waiting at the bus stops. So up here we have an image of Route 9 with Iowa City Transit, which serves the Towncrest area. You can see here that the lighter green lines is the route that bus is traveling on, and the green dots represent where the stops are. So that's where the passengers can be picked up. So fixed route means that bus is not deviating from this path of travel unless there's an established detour for whatever reason that may occur. So the fixed routes again are going to represent the CAN bus, Coralville, and Iowa City Transit. Okay. Here is a map of the service area of where all of the fixed routes go. So we have quite a few, and I'll show you a website where you can look all of these up. But this is just a still screenshot of all of the different routes that we have. So the black star that you see kind of towards the bottom there is the downtown interchange. We'll zoom in on that quite a bit more here in the slides to come. But that black star is really kind of the center of the system. It's where majority of the bus routes start and finish. So with that, it's a popular transfer area. So let's say you're off in that Towncrest area that we are talking about, and your goal is to get to the Coralville Walmart out over here. You would start here and then travel in, get off that bus at the Black Star, and then take off on that Coralville route to get out to the Coralville Walmart. So let's zoom in on that a little bit. That act of transferring or switching buses is called a transfer. So again, let's say you're traveling from the Towncrest area, which is where Iowa City Compassion is, and your goal is to get out over here to Walmart. You would start here and then eventually ride the bus into the downtown interchange, get off that bus, and then switch buses to get out to Coralville. So again, the act of transferring or switching from one bus to another is called a transfer, and that can be done for free. So you don't have to pay the bus driver of the second bus a second time. But what you do need to remember is when you get on that first bus in the Towncrest area, you need to ask the driver for a transfer slip. What happens is once you get downtown and you board the Coralville bus, you'll provide the driver of the Coralville bus the transfer slip, and that means you don't have to pay again. So any transferring between Iowa City to Iowa City or Iowa City Coralville, vice versa, can happen for free. You just need to make sure you ask for that transfer slip. Any questions about transfers? All right. Okay. So if we zoom in a little bit further on that star or the center of the system, you will see the downtown interchange. So this is at the intersection of Clinton and Washington Street in downtown Iowa City. We've got the Old Capitol Mall here, and then also the Pentecrest, which is where the Old Capitol is. On the other corner, there's Poncheros, the airliner, and on the corner, the corner beside that is the Midwest One Bank. So pretty historical building that's remarkable there. So as I mentioned, you've got a good handful, almost all of the routes are going to connect with here. CAN bus, here's a list of the different CAN bus routes that connect with the downtown interchange and the Iowa City routes. Iowa City routes will pull in on both sides of Washington Street. So it's possible that if you're transferring from one Iowa City route to another, you may have to walk across the street there. All of the Coralville routes are going to pull into here too. So if you're going from Iowa City to Coralville, you may just have to walk around the corner. So that's the downtown interchange. There's also a lot of different signage that you'll find down there. And the Old Capitol Mall is a great resource for anybody that's transferring, especially I have 15 degrees on my weather here for today. So if you have a waiting period between your two buses, you can utilize the Old Capitol Mall to warm up. There's also coffee, food, bathrooms, all of that good stuff, and free Wi-Fi. So I would encourage folks to get to know that building. Okay, so if we talk about those green dots that we saw a couple slides ago, those are the bus stops. So if we zoom in, these are what the bus stops look on the side of the street. And each of the bus stops have a little bit of their own identity for Coralville, CAN bus, and Iowa City, but you'll see that they also use that same color scheme. So that should help folks identify which bus they see. Each stop has its own 4-digit ID. I've circled that in red on the 3 different stops. That 4-digit ID is unique to that particular bus stop. And we'll talk a little bit here further as we get into technology about how you can use that 4-digit ID to obtain how quickly the bus is coming to that particular stop. And you don't have to necessarily be at the bus stop to use that information. You can do that for the from the comfort of your home. Okay. Any questions before we keep going on? All righty. Let's talk about where to find the bus route information. Okay, one of the places you can find bus route information is going to be on the actual bus. So here's a picture of the Iowa City Transit bus, and just behind the driver, when you first board, there's signage about the different bus routes, and this will explain which routes are on which side of that street that we were talking about for Washington Street. And then underneath that are all the bus route brochures. That's going to be the same for Coralville Transit too. You'll see that they have a similar display for their brochures. All right, sticking with Coralville Transit here specifically, there's several different places that you can find bus route information also. I'm always happy to be a resource for people seeking information about Coralville Transit or trips or riding. They also have a customer service line. So that's going to be the phone number that you see listed here, ending in 1790. So with that phone line, you can ask questions about whether or not your bus is delayed or if there's a detour, trip planning, all that good stuff. They can be a resource for you. You can also find all of their routes and information on the Coralville Transit website. And if you ride Coralville Transit on a regular basis, you can sign up for their notification system. So this is really helpful if there's any interruptions to service. So it could be a detour, or sometimes they change the location of the downtown interchange due to like a parade or an event in the downtown Iowa City area. Or sometimes there's severe weather and the bus service might be temporarily interrupted. With that, you can sign up to get either email or text that would update you on serviced impacts that you may want to know about. You can also pick up bus route brochures from the Coralville City Hall and then also the Coralville Library. All right, so then we've got Iowa City. Iowa City, again, is going to have their own customer service line here where you can ask questions. Then Iowa City also has their own notification system. Again, you can decide how you're notified. It's a great way to keep yourself updated. They've got all their brochures listed here on their website, and I'll actually take you to that because I want to show you guys. Okay, we're gonna have to do this a different way. If any of you yourselves speak other languages or work with those that might speak other languages, I want to show you how to find that information. And I think I'm gonna have to reshare my screen here. Can you guys see the Iowa City website?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So it's actually not too hard to find that. Here we are on the Iowa City Transit website. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see there's a link for bus schedules. The links that you see appear were about the fare changes that happened. I think that was in 2021, and then also the route changes. The actual bus schedules are going to be under this link. And you'll have the English versions here, but then the schedules are also translated for Arabic, French, Mandarin, and Spanish. Okay. Other places, Iowa City Public Library. Then we also have the Parking and Transit Office, which is 335 East Iowa Avenue. And then, of course, the City Hall there. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Canvas. Canvas is free and open for anybody to ride. So you don't have to be faculty, student, or staff. There's no fare box on there, so anybody can jump on and take a ride. In addition to utilizing the downtown interchange that we showed at Clinton and Washington Street, the Canvas also uses this building here, which is called the West Transportation Center. This is situated by the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinic, main location. And then also right here, you can kind of see the bleachers to Kinnick Stadium. So if you're riding a Canvas and you want to get to the University of Iowa for an appointment, you can actually, there is a skywalk that will connect you so you can stay out of the elements and get to your appointment. CAN bus is also, of course, going to have their own customer service phone number. So that's a good phone number to save if you ever use them. And then, of course, on their website, you'll see all the different schedules and then different time periods that those schedules might shift back and forth between breaks and non-breaks. All right. Social media. So there's always great information out there for social media. Here's a couple of examples of each of the systems, fixed route systems, utilizing social media and the type of content that they'll post. So again, back in 2021, there was some changes to the fare structure. So that's a post for Coralville. Iowa City made some changes to their routes back in 2021 also. So there's a video about that. Okay, here's a couple examples of the notification systems shooting information to a user. So this is me taking a screenshot on my own phone. This one on the left-hand side of the screen is from the ICATS or former Bongo system. We'll talk more in depthly about that here to come. This is a sample of when there was the homecoming parade, which is in the downtown area. So that really shifted things around, and it explained that Clinton Street and Capitol Street is where the transfers would occur. We'll talk again on Transit app, but with Transit app, there's also ways to favorite your routes that you might use and get information pushed to you when there's a change to that particular route. Okay, any questions about finding transit information? All righty. So we're gonna scooch along here and focus on discounts, passes, fares, and transfers again. We're gonna have to leave CAN bus out of the mix for this since they're free. They don't have any fare boxes to deal with, so you don't have to worry about any of these steps. But we will be focusing on Coralville and Iowa City Transit. All right, let's start with how to save money first. Okay, there are a few different discounted programs that I wanted to review. One of them is for people with disabilities. So we talked about people with disabilities earlier when we were talking about the ADA paratransit service. Sometimes there's people with disabilities that don't want to use the door-to-door service and would prefer the efficiency of the fixed routes. In that event, they can apply for the disabled bus pass. The disabled bus pass would allow the participant to ride the Iowa City Transit and Coralville Transit buses for free anytime. I have a picture of what that card looks like, and I'll show you where on the fare box that gets used. This does require a quick application, just this one pager that you see here on the right-hand side. Definition of disability for this program is physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life areas. So with this application, it's pretty general demographic information there, but then you'll have a physician sign off verifying that yes, the patient meets that definition. Once that application is complete, it gets turned into the Iowa City Transit parking office here, which is 335 East Iowa Avenue. And that's when they'll be able to get that card issued to them right away. So the what gets a little bit confusing is while you can use this pass on Coralville buses, if you live in Iowa City, you need to make sure that you fill out the Iowa City application. And University Heights folks would also use the same application. All right, Coralville has a very similar pass. However, if you're a Coralville or North Liberty resident, you'll need to make sure that you use their application. Same criteria, same definition. This application gets turned into City Hall. City Hall will then issue that pass to the Coralville or North Liberty resident. But it's the same discount. So again, it's free transit anytime. You can use that interchangeably on the buses. It's just the application process where you have to make sure you're applying with the right city. All right. Some other discounts to know about are the 65 and older pass or discount. For any seniors 65 or older, they can ride the buses for free anytime also. If you're an Iowa City or University Heights resident, you can actually just show the bus driver proof of age when you board, so your ID. Then if you're a Coralville or North Liberty resident, you got to stop by City Hall and they'll give you this senior pass that you see pictured there. There's sometimes paratransit riders that we talked about there in the beginning that may use Johnson County seats, but there's times where they'd prefer to use the fixed route, and they can use both of those services interchangeably, and it won't impact their eligibility for paratransit. So in the event that a paratransit rider wants to use the fixed route service, they can show their certification card and board for free as well. And the last discount is going to be for Medicare card holders. So if anybody has the traditional red, white, and blue Medicare card, they can show that on any Coralville or Iowa City bus and ride for free. Okay, any questions? All right. So if you or those that you're working with didn't fall in any of those categories before, there's different places that you can buy bus passes. So all of the Hy-Vees in Johnson County sell the transit passes. And you can also buy them, of course, at the Iowa Avenue office for Iowa City Transit, and then the Coralville Library, City Hall, and Rec Center. Here are the different passes. So the first one we're going to talk about is the 31-day pass, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. This is for $32 for an adult and $16 for youth age 5 to 18. Sarah, you mentioned the mom traveling with the young child. 5 and under will always be free, so they won't have to pay for the fare on the fixed routes. What the 31-day pass does is it allows you unlimited rides, so you can ride the bus thousands of times in that 31-day time period, and it will always be the same price, which was the $32 that you paid the one time for that. After the 31 days, that pass will expire and you'll have to get a new one. So the very first time that you swipe it, or swipe it on the bus, you will get like a timestamp on there of when you started and when it will end, so you can keep track of it on the back of the pass. Again, this is I have the Iowa City Transit version photoed here, but those can be used interchangeably on the Iowa City and Coralville buses. So this is a really great pass for people that are riding on a regular basis, maybe to employment or education. For those that are riding on a little less regular basis, the 10 ride pass is a great pass to consider. I like this pass because it doesn't expire. So you don't have to worry about it emptying out in 31 days. You can just hang on to that and use it when you need to. The cost is $8.50. So that's like you get a ride and a half for free there. And again, on the back of the pass, it will stamp how many different rides you've used, so you can keep track of when you need to get a new one.
Kelly, this is Sarah.
Yeah.
So all of these passes can be bought at the Hy-Vees in town, is that right?
You got it.
And then these City of Iowa City passes, if they were to transfer to a Coralville bus, that would still be free. with
Yes.
these 31-day passes? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So actually, that's a great question. And we'll talk about this in like a couple of slides, but with the 31-day pass, since it's unlimited rides, you can skip the step of asking for a transfer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, since it's unlimited, it's not going to matter if you're swiping it on that second bus. But with the 10 ride, yes, you definitely need to plan to ask for a transfer slip if you're taking 2 buses.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, all of the Hy-Vees, City Hall, library, and rec center will sell these. Okay. If you're on the actual bus and you didn't get a chance to buy a bus pass, you can buy a 24-hour pass directly from the driver. And this is for $2. So if you tell the driver, I want the 24-hour pass, and hand them $2, they will print out a 24-hour pass for you. And what that will do is you can ride unlimited for that 24-hour period. So again, it's going to be the same process where it's stamped on the back when you started and when that will expire. And of course, you can use this on both of the systems, Iowa City and Coralville. And you can also just pay the flat out fare, which is $1 for adults. They do require exact change. So we've got a dollar bill, or you can also use, of course, 4 different quarters. So if you're planning to pay cash, this would just go directly to the fare box when you board. Okay, any questions about those? Alrighty. So we talked about transfers. So if you go back to that image we had, that's when you're taking one bus route and finishing on another bus route. So technically using 2 different buses. So this is what the transfer slip looks like here on the bottom. Again, on the back, this is a little bit fuzzy, but you can see that in this case, the transfer slip was issued at 2:50 p.m. and expires at 4:05 p.m. So just a little bit over an hour and 15 minutes worth of transfer time before you have to use that transfer slip and it expires. So to review, the transfers can be used between Iowa City and Coralville, and you ask for them when it takes more than 1 bus to reach your final destination. So if you are paying with cash or a single ride ticket or a 10 ride pass, you would need to ask for the transfer slip if it's taking you 2 buses to get there. If you have that 31-day or the 24-hour pass, you can skip this step because you've got unlimited rides for that time frame. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If there's any questions, just let me know. All right. Okay, we're going to shift gears here and talk about the paper bus routes schedules. So we talked about the different places to find these, and now we got to kind of talk about how to use them a little bit. I think technology is wonderful and it can give you information straight away, but not everybody has access to technology. And then sometimes technology doesn't work, whether you don't have connection or data or your battery dies. So it's always a great skill to get to know the paper bus route schedules. I personally use a combination, so that's okay. I would support you doing that too. Okay, so here's what the schedules look like for the different systems. Excuse me. So this is the front page of one of the Coralville schedules. So this particular one, Coralville uses the black dashes, and then each of the red dots or stars represents a stop. So, or time point is another phrase that we use. The time points where the stars are, those are going to be on the back of the schedule in the columns, and we'll focus on that a little bit. But this particular bus route brochure, I wanted to call out that this shows two different routes. So this is going to be Route 24, which takes place in the evening hours, Monday through Friday. But it's also Route 25, which is going to be the Coralville Saturday hours. So although it's different time periods that it's running, it is the same path of travel and the same stops. So just keep an eye on that when you're looking at the schedule. Sometimes they might share with another one. All right. So here is a zoomed in of the back of one of the Iowa City routes, which is Route 5. This route's also called Lower Muscatine Kirkwood. So this will go from downtown Iowa City. It will then pass the Kirkwood College in South Iowa City, swing over to the Bon Air mobile homes, and then head back. It also passes Eastdale Plaza, which is a really great location that's pretty close to Meg's office, and then also where the Iowa DOT, workforce development, folk rehab, all kinds of things are in that location. So if you look here, you'll see a bunch of different times and a timetable here on the back of the schedule. If we listed every single stop's time, these schedules would be like an entire, 50-page manual. So what we'd end up doing is listing the major time points for each column. So if you go back to that Coralville map that we showed, the time points would be indicated with the stars. And that's what you would end up seeing in the columns. So sometimes when you're traveling, you may not be traveling to the star, you're traveling to the circle. And in that case, you're going to choose the column that follows on the earlier time to plan your trip. That way you're not late. So we have this banner here that's highlighted in green. That's going to show all of the major time points within the route. So we're going to focus on Route 5 for now, heading out to Kirkwood and Eastdale Plaza. Each of the columns traveling down are those different time points. Iowa City also does an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, which you'll be able to see on the front of the route brochure, and how it corresponds with the map. As you can see here, column A is when the bus is first at the downtown interchange at Clinton and Washington. And then once it circles back, you'll see it arriving back to the Clinton and Washington downtown interchange. So that's going to be your column I. All right. So let's do an example here. Let's say we need to get to Kirkwood Community College and we've got a 9 a.m. class that we're traveling to. So to plan your trip, the first thing is going to be to identify which column your stop falls under. And again, if your column isn't specified for the stop that you're using, you're going to want to choose the earlier column just to make sure you arrive on time. So if we travel down this column and look at all the different rows, we see a 8:51 arrival, so that's pretty good, or the next one's 9:11, which would definitely be too late. So as you can see here, for this particular route, it has 20-minute frequency. So you can kind of know that in a planning situation, if you accidentally did miss your bus, there would be another one coming in 20 minutes in this example. So let's choose, we want to plan to arrive at the Kirkwood College at 8:51. That stop is right outside of the building, so we don't have very far to walk to get to our class. So what we do next, what we do next is we follow the row over to the left, and that helps us identify when the bus is leaving the downtown interchange to get to Kirkwood College by 8:51. So in this example, we know that we have to arrive to the downtown interchange by 8:40 in order to get to our class on time. Okay, So everything I just verbally explained will be here in these written instructions. And if you guys want, I can send you the slides, or actually I'll have them posted. Yeah, if you want to drop your email in the chat, if you haven't already, that would be helpful, and I can send you the slide deck. Any questions about the planning a trip using the bus route schedules? All righty, we will keep moving along. Thank you guys so much for chiming in there. Okay. All right, so we've got our bus trip planned, and now it's time to go to school and get out to Kirkwood. So now we need to go through what it's like to actually get on that bus. We've got our bus pass, all that good stuff. So the image on the screen that you see here is a person that's loading a bicycle on the front of the bus. So if any of you bike or have people that you serve bike, all of the Iowa City and all of the Coralville buses can fit 2 different bicycles on the front bike rack. On my website, there is a video that explains how to do that. So if you're ever directing somebody that rides a bike, you can check out how that process works. Okay. First step is waiting for the bus. So we have a picture of a bus shelter, bus shelter here. Some of the stops do have a bus shelter, not all of them do. I know that the city of Iowa City has plans to renovate and add more shelters, so it will be nice to see some more of those come about. The general rule is you want to be about 3 to 5 minutes early. So in that example, when we're getting to Kirkwood and we need to be downtown by 8:40, we'd really want to make sure that we pulled up to that downtown interchange at about 8:47, 8:45, just to make sure we're safe. There's no smoking when you're at these shelters. You'll want to make sure you have your payment ready, and never walk in front of the bus. Definitely a safety thing you want to do. Once you see the bus driver coming down the way, you'll want to wave to them. That indicates to the bus driver that you want to board. There's sometimes more busy or heavily concentrated areas for pedestrians. And in those situations, you definitely want to make sure you're waving to the driver so that they know that's what you want to get on their ride. Okay. Once the bus comes to a stop, the first thing you're going to do is check the scroll. The scroll is the screen that you'll see above the driver that's going to list the name of the route that's in operation, and make sure that's the route that you were planning to use. At this time, if you need it, you can ask the driver to engage the ramp. The CAN bus route bus that you see here has its ramp engaged. This makes it really nice for anybody that needs that seamless entry. There's actually no steps here, so the bus can lower itself and then engage that ramp so that people don't have to use the stairs. That section, especially this time of the year, can get pretty slippery, so there's handrails all throughout the bus there and in the entry, so make sure you're hanging on to those. This is also the time, remember, if you're going to be riding from one bus route to another and you're using a 10-ride pass, paying cash or a single ride ticket, this is when you'll ask for your transfer slip. If you're a new rider, it's great to tell the driver your name and where you're traveling to. We live in a small enough community that you may see the same drivers on a regular basis. So you can say, hey, I'm Kelly, and I'm trying to get to a 9 a.m. class at Kirkwood. Okay, here's what the fare box looks like. And I've got a lot of different color-coded circles on here. And I just want to disclose from the get-go that we'll go through these, but this is right by the driver's seat. So if you're not sure when it comes to time to actually board, the drivers can help direct you on where your payment will go. So if you're somebody that's going to do coins, so those 4 quarters, those are going to go in this red circle here. If you've got a dollar bill, that's right above it. If you're doing a 10 ride or 31 day, that goes down into this slot. And if you have one of those cards, the plastic cards that we looked at for disabled or senior people, that gets tapped on the bullseye. Okay, the front seats here, which I have circled in green, is saved for people with disabilities and seniors. This is because if somebody's boarding with a wheelchair or a device that needs secured, those seats can flip up and safely store that mobility device. So if you have the physical ableness, you should plan on sitting behind that front seats. Each of the backs of the seats also have that handle there, and you can see all the pull system that make it so that you can hang on if you need to. The buses also have an automated recording where it will repeat, or there will be an announcement that says what stops they're approaching, and there will also be a screen that will visualize the intersection or the stops that they're approaching. So it's a good idea to watch and listen for that. I always encourage people to look out the windows and see what landmarks they're by. If you're somebody that's a newer rider, I think it's okay to, as long as there's no people with disabilities using these seats at the time, you can sit a little bit closer to the driver. That way, if you're not exactly sure when you're going to get off, you guys would be able to safely communicate. Okay. Once it's time to get off, there is a stop request cord, and that is this yellow cord that you see circulating the perimeter of the bus. By pulling on that cord, it sends a notice to the driver that there's a passenger that wants to get off the bus. So you'll actually hear a little chime when you pull it, and the automated system will say, stop requested. So you should plan to pull this cord when you're about a half a block from your destination. This is one of those things where if you're not sure where that is, you would want to sit close or have that conversation with the driver as you're boarding, so you know what landmarks or intersections to look for to pull the cord. All right, once you've got that cord pulled and the driver knows somebody wants to get off, you'll want to exit in the back door of the bus if you, again, are physically able to do so. If that's not for you, it's more than fine to go out the front door and ask the driver to engage the ramp for you. If you have plans to cross the street, you need to wait for the bus to leave before you do so. You'll never want to jump off and then run in front of the bus to get across the street. You'll want to let the bus take off first. Okay, we are doing really great on time. We are at 10 o'clock and we have just a few things left. Let's take a quick pause to see if there's any questions. And I'm going to make sure I get these emails copied. Okay, so let's scooch along here. We're doing really good on time, as I mentioned. And we will talk about the transit technology now. For this portion of the training, we'll start with the we'll start with the oldest version of technology and finish with the latest and newest technology that's available. Okay, so again, starting with the oldest form of technology, which is still perfectly fine and effective. This program used to be called Bongo. You'll still see that word on the bus sign, some of the bus signs, and then also you'll still use that word when you're using the texting. It has been renamed to Iowa City Area Transit Services, or ICATS for short. So what Bongo or ICATS does is it integrates information for Coralville, Iowa City, and Canvas, and gives you real-time information for when the bus is nearing your bus stop or where the bus is at on its path of travel. So there's 4 different ways that you can access this type of information. So the first way is by calling the phone number that you see listed and punching in your stop number. So your stop number is going to be that 4-digit ID that you see on the bus stop. We can also show you a way to look that up if you don't already know that, or if you're not near the bus stop at the time. We'll also take a peek at the website. There's a lot of great ways to visualize the routes and see the different options there. If you're standing at the bus stop, you can also scan the QR code and you'll be prompted with the information on how far away the bus is. If you like to text, you can also text Bongo, then your stop number, to the phone number 41411, and that phone number will reply back to you saying the bus is this many minutes away from the stop number that you used. So let's take a peek at the website here. Okay, so this is the main website for Bongo. So the website is icareatransit.org. In this top banner here, you'll see the main options that you're going to want to focus on. Let's do routes first. So again, you can see here's a list of the Coralville routes, Canvas routes, and the Iowa City routes. So let's go ahead and pick on that route we were talking about before, which is Route 5, Lower Muscatine, Kirkwood for Iowa City. So if I click on that, there I can see a map of the path of travel for that particular route. If I zoom in and out, you can see these markers on the map, which is like a little pin with the bus on top of it. That's the actual location of the bus. And there it just moved along. So the buses have a GPS system built in their technology that is communicating with the ICATS program. So as the bus moves along, the ICATS program is updating its information. So let's see here. Since we were talking about how this route in particular had that 20-minute frequency, you'll see that it's operating 2 different buses. So one's going in towards downtown and one's traveling away. So let's go zoom in on Kirkwood College. So that bus is about to stop. Oh, it just passed there. So this is the bus stop that we were talking about that we would use to arrive to the college. And by hovering my mouse over that green dot, I can see that the name of the stop, but also the number. So the number is going to be 7005. So that's that 4-digit number that I can use to communicate with Bongo or the ICATS system about how far away the bus is. So I could text it, I could call and use it, but let's do this little box here and do 7005. And enter. Okay, so I was late for my class. It's now a little bit after 10. I know that if I get on the bus downtown, there's going to be a bus that's about 4 minutes from arriving there, 16 minutes, 21, and so on. So that very first column is going to tell you either minutes or the expected arrival time. This column's got the name of the route. the system and the actual bus number. Sometimes there might be a stop that's shared, and let's go find one of those. Okay, this is a popular one. So this is the VA loop. So this is in between the VA hospital and the University of Iowa hospital on the north side. And you can see that all three systems are utilizing this particular stop. So this is actually another potential transfer area for people. And this is color coded. So you'll see there's a Penncrest for Canvas arriving first. And it's again updating as the buses move. Then you've got a Coralville route, Iowa City route, and you can kind of tell that way. If you're at a popular or more frequent stop, you can make that just determination on which route you want to board. So the next tab in the banner is going to be the different stops. Sometimes it takes just a little bit to load things. There's a lot of information on each of these pages. Okay. So typically when the page is loading correctly, it would list all of the different stops, and it just goes on and on and on about all of the different stops that each are shared between the systems that Coralville operates, Canvas operates, and Iowa City operates. The last feature to get to know on this service is the map. And this is where we could use that example and say, okay, we were going to ride from the Towncrest area to the Coral Ridge Mall, or no, excuse me, Coralville Walmart. So that's going to be Route 21 5th Street. So you can also see what that actual path of travel is going to look like when you make that trip. So you're starting on that red colored route and finishing on the purple. So that is Bongo and iCats on a nutshell. Any questions before we close this one out? All right. While we're on the web page, we're going to switch over to Google Maps. Google Maps is a great user-friendly platform. I really like to use this for planning a trip, especially if you're planning a trip in advance. And let's go ahead and pick on my current location. So this should look pretty standard for you. If you ever use Google Maps, you can zoom in. Within the last couple of years, the transit information has been added to Google Maps. So I am here at the Johnson County building. And if I zoom in enough, eventually I will start to see these little blue icons pop up. These blue icons represent the bus stops. So I can see that by hovering my mouse over, this particular bus stop is served by Route 13, and it's at the corner of Benton and Clinton. If I click on that, I can get the profile for that particular bus stop. Within the profile, I can see the bus stop number, so that 4-digit ID that we were talking about. I can use that on the iCat system. I could also scroll down, and of course this is kind of nice because you can see the visual, and I've used that for helping people plan trips if they're not sure what intersection or address. This can kind of help them identify the landmarks if they're new to the area. So there's also the departure board down here, and this is helpful because I can see here's all the times that the bus is scheduled to arrive to my bus stop. Now, keep in mind that I said the phrase scheduled, and that is because the Google Maps technology platform uses the scheduled time. So that's the paper schedules that we were talking about. It's not communicating with the GPS. So where the difference lies is if there's a detour or weather or accident that's delaying the service, or even just traffic and the bus is running late, Google Maps is not going to know that. So this is the scheduled time that the bus is supposed to arrive. So another great thing that I was telling you is using the directions or planning a trip. So let's say I want to leave work and I have plans to go to the university hospital. So I use this program a lot. So it's already thinking that I want to do bus as my travel, but I would say most typically you'll be under the driving tab and you'll need to move over to the bus icon. So I said I need to go to a doctor's appointment at UIHC. So if I type that in and hit enter, Google Maps will then provide me with different options for getting there. I can see how long it's going to take. I can see the time frames. If I find a trip that I think makes the most sense to me, if I click on that, I can then get the step-by-step directions for making that happen. So my appointment's not for a little bit later, so I'm going to toggle this. And instead of having the program say that I want to leave immediately, I actually need to get to that appointment by 2 o'clock. So I'm going to scroll down to arrive by. Excuse me. And type in 2 p.m. Okay. So I think I want to arrive a little bit earlier. So I'm going to click on this very last option. Excuse me. Which is what I think looks the best. From there, I can send it to my smartphone, post it on social media if I wanted to, or print it out if somebody likes to have that piece of paper with them. So that's a really great tool. Just remember that it's not working with the actual location of the bus. It's just using the scheduled times. Okay, so back to the training. The very last option I wanted to share with you guys is the Transit app. So this is a newer program. The Transit app is only accessible by smartphone, tablet. So that's going to require someone to have either data or wireless connection. This program integrates the GPS of that device, be it tablet or smartphone, and communicates it with the GPS of the bus. So if you open up your phone, if any of you have ever booked an Uber or Lyft or Uber is telling you or knows where you're starting because you've allowed GPS access for them to find your location. So that's exactly what's happening with Transit app. It's going to know that if you open your phone where you are, and it will communicate with you the information for the transit routes that are close to you. So I have a video that I can show you of how that works, and I'll go ahead and show that. There's no web browser version of this. So because Transit app is actually an international app that's using your GPS, there's no way to use it from the desktop or web browser way of doing things. But I do have, it's still a really great platform to get to know. I think it's really nice because it integrates the trip planning aspect of Google Maps, but then merges the real-time information of where the bus is, like the iCats or Bongo system. So let's show this video here. And you guys can get a peek at how to use that.
Looking for the closest bus route and stop? Download the Transit app and catch a ride today. Transit is a mobile app that allows you to have real-time information for all of Johnson County's fixed route buses, Iowa City Transit, Coralville Transit, and CAN Bus. Conveniently working with your phone's GPS, the Transit app shows the current location of buses, the stops closest to you, and the upcoming departure times. Here's how to use it. Download Transit from your App Store. When you open the app, the first screen you see shows the bus routes near you based on your current location. Take a closer look at a route by tapping on the route banner. Here you can see a route's path of travel and stops along the way, shown as dots. Pinch to zoom out to see the bus's current location, indicated by the bus icon. Click the X to get back to the front page of the app. Now, let's plan a trip. Let's say you're currently in downtown Iowa City and would like to ride the bus to the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics for a doctor's appointment. Tap the green search bar labeled Where To, where it says line or destination. Type in UIHC. Select the best search result. In this case, UIHC 200 Hawkins Drive is where you want to go. Next, the Transit app provides you with options for completing your trip. Tap on the option to see more details. If you're ready to leave right away, select the green Go button. This feature will lead you through guided audio and visual directions for your journey. But let's say your appointment isn't until later this afternoon. Touch the red X to get back to the trip options. Tap on the Leave Now button and change your selection to Arrive By. Then, scroll the time to when you want to get there and select Done. Tap on the route that best meets your needs. After making your selection, you'll see the directions and the time at which you need to leave. Tap the bell icon to set a reminder for when it's time to head to the bus stop. Slide to select how early you want to be reminded, and tap Create Reminder. The reminder will push a notification to your phone when it's time to leave for your appointment. From here, tap Go and be on your way. Now you know the basic navigation and trip planning features of the Transit app. Other features you may want to check out include favoriting your most frequented routes, and up-to-the-minute service alerts, such as detours or other notices that may impact your travel. Contact your transit system for more information, or connect with the Johnson County Mobility Coordinator for additional resources and videos.
Okay, so that is the Transit app in a nutshell. And if you or anybody you're working with ever needs one-on-one education, I am your person. I'm always happy to work with people on their specific needs. Any questions about Transit app, technology in general?
Yeah, this is Amanda. I'm looking at the Transit app on my phone and I'm seeing that there's a Transit Royale subscription to do with CAN Bus. Is that something that has to be paid for, or is that strictly just for CAN Bus? Like how does that work?
Tell me again what you're seeing.
I'm looking at the Transit app and they says you'll soon have restricted access to lines farther away. CAN Bus lines will remain unlocked. Upgrade to Royale.
Okay, you can bypass that. The information should still be free for CAN Bus, Iowa City, and Coralville. So no, you shouldn't have to pay for that. That's a great question. Some of the transit app also allows you the opportunity to book an Uber or Lyft from the app. So that would also be another way that you can get into payment. But for accessing just CAN bus, Iowa City, and Coralville information, that would still remain free. Any other?
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Okay, so the last slide that I wanted to share with you all is about the different community resources that may not fall exactly under the public transit sector. And the first resource I wanted to tell you about is the Unity Point Health. So they have a senior program for 60 and older, getting free transportation to medical appointments and essential errands. Iowa Medicaid has a program for its Medicaid recipients where they can get non-emergency medical transportation to any medical or dental. The city of North Liberty has a North Liberty Transportation Assistance Program. And if you would qualify for this if you don't have a vehicle, financial difficulty, or have a disability. And here's a list of the places you can go for that. So we've got medical, dental, pharmacy, grocery, pantry, rec center, library, laundry, government offices, and banks. The United Way of Johnson County also has a program for seniors and people with disabilities where they can get volunteer transportation to their medical appointments. And again, that's a free service. Any Solon residents have a similar program where 65 and older veterans or people with disabilities can get volunteer transportation to several locations as well. The last one is Trail of Johnson County, and they have membership for seniors where they can get volunteer transportation as well. So all of these resources and then the rest of the PowerPoint will be in the slide deck. And again, I've got the emails recorded. If I'm missing any, go ahead and drop those now. Yeah, and if you ever have people that you think might apply for these, I'm happy to help them navigate how to access them. And with that, I will ask if there's any last questions, and I will stop the recording.